issue and my personal problem that I was thinking that I actually spend a lot of time on Instagram and Facebook, and I have no idea actually how much time I spend there. And it was like, actually, I need a tool to find out. And actually now it's quite popular, but back in the day, because when I launched this product, it was like in 2016, and on the market that time there was zero product like this, and I was like, yeah, actually maybe I can build it like for myself and it's gonna work. Yeah, and in this case it's much easier to keep you motivated because you're like, yeah, actually I'm doing it for myself. And at that point you realize as well that other people also have the same struggle, and that's why it's gonna help them as well. Yeah, this is kind of the first part, and maybe like first way how you can approach this. I think the second way, maybe like, yeah, as Daniel mentioned, it should be like a lot of fun and creativity. You like kind of, you should like what you're doing, because I don't know if it's like, let's say, I don't know, B2B bank project for someone, and you don't feel like really motivated and you don't want to wake up every morning because of this, because it's kind of, I know, sounds boring for you. This may be not the best choice for a pet project, because I think for every pet project, the only fuel for this and the only way how it goes, it's actually you're motivated and you're a driver for this. And if you don't really like it, so probably it's not going to work. So you personally should like it, and this, I know, topic should resonate with you a lot. Yeah, that's important, what I'm doing. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the tools is look at yourself.
Solving your problems or your friends' problems. Yeah. And
actually, I
just enjoy it a lot.
Actually, the practice, like business practice, supports it a lot. I've actually taken a number of classes on entrepreneurship during my MBA at LBS, and we did a lot of like case studies of the company. And you'd be surprised that I was actually very surprised that the majority of the businesses, like even very large and successful ones, have started out of the founder's pain. So that's really how things work. It was like really liberating to me that, oh yes, I can start any business because like I do have my pains, and well, they're very valid. So yeah, that's how things really happen. And yeah, it actually changed my mindset, my mindset in a way. So I started to be like more attentive to the kind of problems I have, and what could be the solutions to those problems. Like, for example, I was like tweaking with the right metric to make sure I sleep enough. And it turned out like that wearing the bracelets, like looking all your sleep phases is useless. Like, if you know you can you have to wake up at 6 o'clock, you should go to bed at like 9 o'clock or like 10 o'clock to make sure you go to sleep. So I started to track the time I go to bed, not the length of like how long I sleep. Because I can't do anything about it. Like if I mean, it's not actionable, but I can influence the time I can go to bed, for example. So this is the kind of sort of product mindset I sort of like assumed.
So what I'm hearing is about kind of practicing that approach and noticing all the big and small pains.
I think actually we even in our chat with Daniel and a couple of our partners in crime, we tried this exercise when you need to write down the things that you kind of really hate. And it's like, I know, I hate the tube in the mornings or something like this. And after just try to come up with some possible solution. Is it even like possible to solve somehow or not? Like, and this is also was a good source of inspiration, like how we can do this,
So what I'm hearing also that you have a kind of a group of supporters, but I will ask Daniel to maybe elaborate more on this. So what's the value or what's the benefit of talking about your ideas with other people like you and unlike you?
You know, when you have a problem you want to solve, if you just keep it in your head, you have only one perspective, and you might not think about, you know, the edge cases of that. You cannot even understand how big is the problem. You might be like, oh yeah, it's a problem, but nobody might care about that. But then you talk to your friends and they're like, oh yeah, that's the problem I care about as well, you know, and then you get that pump and motivation to start working on that. Or they actually can say, oh yeah, that's the problem I had as well, I solved it this way. And then you just, oh nice, I'll solve it this way as well. So, you know, when you take something out of your head, bring it to world, speak to your friends or colleagues, you start learning more about the project and whether it actually makes or doesn't make sense to kick that off.
Yeah, I think it was even like recent example, I think from our chat, it was something that I shared with guys. Oh, you know, it would be great to create kind of like really easy kind of notes when you can have hashtags for every note, and after it's just sorted automatically, like this is like notes about work, this is about personal life, and no feelings, whatever. And after this, guys just send me, I don't know, 15 different like notes, like market research, and I was like, okay, better to think twice. Just like, so it's actually very useful because you just got this feedback and like, oh, you know, actually this problem already solved like this, and kind of it starts this discussion that, oh, maybe it's like we need to think deeper and understand like problem better. Maybe there are a lot of solutions already on the market and we shouldn't go this way. Yeah. So yeah, it's usually very useful. And
what's your perspective, Yulia?
About
using the power of social networks or talking to other people about your ideas when it comes to pet
Actually, my biggest learning about like getting into payment stuff is that, as well as product management as a team sport, like getting into PM, you also like need a team, you need a shard, you need like support, you need people to just to be able to talk about products, to discuss like tools, frameworks, whatever. Because like to become a product manager, you need to learn the language. And the best way to learn the language is not like sitting and reading like all the books about PM interviews, but like speaking to real people, exploring it all together. That's actually how the idea of those mini meetups at LBS came up. Like my friend helped me rehearsing my stories for the interview. And I felt so much better after that rehearsal, because before that I was like staying at home for a couple of weeks, like trying to sort of figure how I gonna reply like analytical questions, how I better pitch myself and stuff. And I just felt so much better after a single conversation that I was like, wow, there is something in it. And then we discussed it, and my friend, she's from LBS too, she shared that they used to do some like product team meetups discussing the product things with your friends like during the summer. But there was a bit of problem with that because of the like way to different level of experience between the different people, and it didn't work quite well. So we decided just to do it, like try to do it with us, because there are like a couple of more people who are like really committed to get a PM job, so they have like strong enough motivation. So that's how it all started. So we meet probably every 2 or 3 weeks, and we prepare a couple of questions in advance, and we like take turns in deciding the agenda and organizing the stuff for the next meetup.
Okay, so just to give a brief summary, you can look for the things you hate, and you can look for the things you like, or like the things you may that make you feel good. So we just briefly touched on interacting with other people, and I assume for some or many or majority of pet projects, you actually need a team to get somewhere. So how do you find people if you don't have a magic chat?
A magic chat, yeah. I think actually I'm quite lucky here because I I've been working in tech, I think, for kind of many years. So I have a lot of friends, ex-colleagues, teammates who is actually like really good engineers, designers, product managers as well, analysts. So in this case, for me, it's quite easy. I just share with them my ideas of like, are you interested as well, like working on something? And they usually like can be, oh, you know, I'm also looking for some opportunities to run something by myself. And it somehow this magic happens, and yeah, that's it. And I think, yeah, this is actually because I surrounded by people from tech. Yeah, for me, it's, I think, quite easy. So maybe I'm not a very relevant example here. Yeah.
Okay, so let's ask Daniil then. Daniil, I really hope that you are more introverted than Luba.
No.
So any tips and tricks for finding people to collaborate on the ideas?
Well, my situation is very similar to Luba's, but I'll still try to I'll still try to help people there. So for example, the person whom I started the fitness project with, I just got a message on angellist.com. It's a website where you can actually look for co-founders. And I just got a message saying like, hey, I want to kick off this project. I'm looking for a software engineer. Would you mind meeting for coffee? Next day we met for coffee. We started working on that project. And then a few months ago, it was 4 years since we started, and we still keep in touch. We still
I think
do
it's
some
amazing story actually.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe it's a unique case, I don't know, but I hear stories from time to time. There are also many different meetups in London and all over the world where people are just looking for co-founders, pet projects, and so on. You can also ask your friends, because you initially might think that, hey, none of my friends are open, but if you write a post on Facebook or share a story on Instagram with just close friends and just say, hey, I want to work on this. Do you want to join me, or do you know someone who might want to join me? You'll be surprised by how many people are actually interested in that. So I would say check meetups, check angellist.com, and try to reach out to your friends on social media.
Thank you. Yeah, Daniil may be introverted, but he's a software engineer.
Yeah.
So
he's very active online.
So yeah. Thank you.
And he can build everything by himself. Yeah.
So then maybe your perspective as a non-technical founder.
Well, my biggest sort of like learning and the skill from the whole MBA, I guess the most useful one is like appreciating the power of network and learning the skills to build it. Because it's not only about like product management. I guess it's like nowadays it's about any kind of like career. If you seek to like to learn, develop, and grow, you like definitely need like-minded people around you, and you should proactively like seek for opportunities to connect to those people. And London is just an amazing place for that, with all the meetups, conferences, all the like talks which happen at different companies and startups. So you can just turn up and be brave enough to strike at least one conversation. That was my tip, because I'm heavily introverted. So the way I convinced myself to start like just to start conversations with people is like having a target of having at least one conversation if I turn up at the event. And with the practice, you build sort of skill and start even enjoying it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so we understand that it's all about networking, organizing chats.
Yes. Just to correct it, because I guess networking is a word has like lots of kind of sleazy connotations, because like because of kind of using people for your own purposes, but you should treat it as an opportunity to give and take and be like genuinely curious in people. That's how the like truly meaningful connections are built, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think not afraid of asking your kind of friends, colleagues, ex-colleagues, like, yeah, do you want to join me in this journey? I want to try it. Yeah. So I think, yeah, as Daniel said, that a lot of people actually will support, I think.
Yeah. And when it comes to your personal perspective, and I will start with Daniel, you've mentioned that like you are happy sometimes to wake up 2 hours earlier to work on your pet project. So how do you motivate yourself to do it, to find time outside of your work schedule to work on something else?
Wow, I mean, it's super hard to answer, but let me try. You know, whenever you find the project, there is something about it what you like. Sometimes it can be the real problem you really want to solve, or something you really care about, or it might be a project which you believe will generate you decent amount of money and you want those money because you want to go on holiday. There can be different types of goals which you want to close by working on that project, and they all are great. So I would say if you find something what is really important to you, then that's the only motivation. Because if you think about motivation overall is a very short-term thing. You might be one day motivated, next day you wake up, it's cloudy in London, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna work on that today. Next day you wake up, it's sunny, you're like, okay, I'm gonna work on that today. But if you find something you really care about, then you will have that ongoing motivation which will keep you waking up, keep you awake in the evening to work on that, will keep you and make you think about that project full day long. So just say, find something you care about or something you want to achieve with that project and just double down on that.
Any additions?
Yeah, I think actually, yeah, I agree with Daniel. It's also, for me, it's maybe two main things. The first one is actually kind of goal. Why actually doing it? Like, yeah, it's because I just want, like, how did you say, like, decent amount of money, or like it's because I just like believe in what I'm doing, something else. So like, what is actually goal? And actually, I think from this point, motivation should start. And also the second very important part is actually process itself. I think when you work on your own project, you have this kind of unlimited power, and this is just the pure creativity. So there is no like this, I don't know, bureaucracy, hierarchy, something else. It's actually like a small amount of people working on the same idea together. They brainstorm a lot. So it's actually, in general, very enjoyable process, I would say. And that's why I think we worked a lot during weekends, like every week, and it didn't feel like work. It was like more like, yeah, we create something and we enjoy doing it, yeah. And we believe in what we're doing, yeah.
I totally agree on the why thing. I just, like, from a perspective of being a parent of two, it should also be clear about like what kind of trade-offs you are willing to make, and like if you really have that time to work on an extra project, having a full-time job, for example. I wouldn't have, because like I have like having a job, having 8 hours to sleep, like I'm not able to give up because it ruins like everything else. The rest of the time, like my kids is my highest priority outside of that. So for me, it wouldn't be possible really finding time for a pet project at this at this stage of my life. So I think it's important to be kind of clear what you can and can't do, because starting something with commitment and then realizing that well, it just doesn't fit, you are just not ready to give up some stuff to clear up the space, it just sort of wouldn't do any good to you.
So I will ask everyone on the call to start thinking about questions, because it's the last one from my list. So you've mentioned that it's all about understanding your priorities and what time do you actually have and what time can you actually commit to something like that. So what's your thinking about, how to be frugal and scrappy when it comes to doing pet projects? is there a chance to kind of to put them on your CV by doing, I don't know, only, I don't know, kind of market research and a couple of screens without coordinate, and you can do it alone? So, like, is there an opportunity to be frugal and still get some value from doing a pet project, even on a smaller scale, or do you need to go full in?
I think there is always is. I think the key question is like, how confident would you be in what you've achieved to be able to pitch it to interviewer? Because if you're like thinking with the mind, oh, I did something small, it doesn't really matter. Like you are just ruining your whole interview once this like point, this bullet of your CV is touched.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it also depends on how you gonna frame it, and like, yeah, if you frame it in some kind of positive way that actually you like got this experience like from scratch with zero like knowledge whatever, and you just kind of build this step by step. Yeah, I think it can be like quite positive, but I think we all have, you know, our own bar, what is kind of good, what is not good enough, what is really good. So, and probably your bar and interviewers bar on the different levels. So you just need to listen to yourself at that point and understand, yeah, I'm proud of what I'm doing, so I'm going to tell you about this. Yeah.
Or like, you can try it. You can pitch it, like fail a couple of interviews, and then go another pet project with a sort of like stronger achievement, or like find some other way to close this gap. Because like becoming a PM is also kind of a project where you need to constantly like test and learn and refine your value proposition and stuff.
Yeah, A/B test a lot.
Yeah. Daniil, any additional comments to being frugal when doing a pet project?
You know, it all starts like with the goal, what you want to achieve. If you want to, for example, I don't know, build something huge but you don't have time, probably it's not worth starting, because you will not get there, and then you'll feel anxious, disappointed, and then you start hating yourself for not doing enough or so on. But as you asked whether it's possible to find a job without fully finishing the pet project, I do believe that you can still do that, because, you know, when you come to the interview, you just have to sell your story, and your story doesn't have to be that, oh, hey, I built it, was successful, and so on. You can just share that, hey, I tried that, didn't work. I tried that, didn't work. Put a team together, failed, then tried again, failed again. Because that's also amazing. Like what you should care about is the, you know, the learnings you got out of the pet project, because then you can apply those to your next pet project, and then most likely you will succeed, or apply to your full-time job you find and then succeed there as well.
Amazing. Thank you for the amazing summary and final comments, Daniil. So to everyone on the call, if you have any questions to us, to panelists, I really hope that you can find a chat window on Zoom and put your question there. You need to address the question to that person with the name PM to be host.
PM to be host, yeah. I think actually Zoom doesn't have really simple UI to find out how to.
It has, but it's money. It costs money. Yes.
Yeah, so that's why, yeah, it's quite, I always struggle using it. Yeah.
So in order to save £32 per month, we found a way to organize this call without buying webinars plan. So that's why everyone is muted. And yes, we have a first question. Thank you very much. So the first question is about, oh, wow. So not connected to pet projects. And I assume it's because of your comment. People are asking, what are your thoughts on PM course school, like General Assembly / someone else, for getting into PM?
Did you try it, yeah?
No.
No?
No.
Yulia is being frugal.
Well, yes, having like spent quite a lot for my MBA, probably getting another kind of quite an expensive class from Product School of General Assembly doesn't sound like a good idea. I've never explored this like properly, so I'm just giving my kind of high level opinion, not sort of the actionable advice. But I've talked to a lot of like PMs at all the level along my way, and no one ever gave me advice like go study at school. I guess PM product management is a very like practical sort of discipline, and I'd rather spend time on a pet project, on like doing some extra project at work, or like finding some online, like going actually to Meetup, where like all the PM problems are discussed very, very well. I think it would be much more cost efficient, and like ROI positive sort of way to get into the product.
Yeah, okay, and with your,
but I might be mistaken. So they like all those schools, they market themselves very heavily. So probably like there is some value, but I guess the value primarily comes from the like networking, because the actual PMs teach there, as far as I understand. So probably it works, but not necessarily because you get like all the knowledge, but rather because you get to know like all the people and understand the language. But there are other ways to learn the language.
So
you get to
you
know
are
the
saying
people.
that it's an option, but it's not on the critical path, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Luba, with your hiring manager hat on, so when you see on someone's CV, General Assembly or any other product course, does it add points?
No, I think actually I want to be honest. I think in terms of priority, experience is always higher, and like let's say, I don't know, even pet project experience versus kind of product school, I think experience is still higher. So like I personally like pay attention more to experience than just to this additional courses about product management. Yeah. I think like it still can give you some knowledge, it's good, but I think if we talk only about CVs and how actually it's assessed in terms of like interview, I think it's not so important, like my personal opinion,
Okay, thank you. So Daniil, I have another question for you. So when you're working on a pet project, is it a good idea to put it on your CV, or do you want to save it for the interview?
Definitely put it on the CV, because obviously each company has a different approach, but they first look at your CV, and the more impressive it is, the higher is the chance that they will invite you for the on-site interview or phone interview. So I would say make your CV look as great as you can, but don't put too many projects, because if, for example, you put that, hey, this year I did 25 projects, 14 failed, 5 succeeded, and something else, then it might be too overwhelming.
25 in 1 year.
Just try to put, like, if you had, for example, a big success in the pet project, put it there. If you had a big failure or a failure where you learned a lot, put it there as well. I would say try to limit it to, I don't know, 2-3 pet projects. That should be more than enough. Even one is enough. Just, make sure you have something to talk about when you come to the interview. Because if you put too many projects or too little ones, then they will ask you, hey, can you talk about this project? And then you say, oh yeah, we just started, and then after 1 week we closed. That's not really a good pet project for the CV and for the interview.
Awesome. And the next question is maybe to talk about one of the pet projects you've done, and elaborate on the skills you had before starting it and the skills you acquired with doing that pet project. So we touched on that briefly, but maybe just give us one, but very specific and exciting example of that.
I can start.
You mean like?
Yeah.
They sound fire.
Yeah. So for example, back 4 years when I started that fitness project with the person who approached me on angellist.com. So we started with the project. We built the app. So we shipped that on the App Store, but then we didn't get any traction. We started to get into the marketing, how we can, market the product. So we started doing different courses online and so on. But it was, when you start in something, you have zero knowledge. Then you go through the course, you have like 1% of knowledge, but at least it's a starting point where you start, doing something. So we started learning about marketing. We learned what we can do. We started buying adverts, setting up all those optimizations, conversions, all those magical words. Then we realized that, hey, we can optimize the search on the App Store. Then we started doing App Store search optimizations. That's like another huge thing we learned. Then I realized that people who download the app, they don't interact with the app that often. So they download the app, install, go to the gym once, then they never open the app. At that time, I had to deep dive into the analytics and see how people use the app. So by the end of that project, I learned so many things that it's even hard for me to now to go through all of them. But basically, I went from just knowing how to do coding to knowing how to understand people's behavior, get people to download your app. It can be paid or unpaid traffic, and so on.
And what's the name of the app? Can you tell us? Because people are
so the app was called at that time Kaizen, but then we pivoted, and what we did is, so initially it was just a fitness program marketplace. The idea was that fitness coaching, especially in London, is extremely expensive. So why not put fitness program PDFs into your phone? So if there's a fitness coach with teachers in the gym, they could upload their program in the right format to the app, and then people could download it. It didn't work. We tried different iterations, and then we pivoted and started creating white label apps for fitness influencers. So if there is a blogger who wants to monetize their audience, we would create a dedicated app for that specific person, and they can monetize their audience.
Amazing, thank you.
Yeah,
I will change a question slightly.
Yeah, because I just came up with the skill that I learned about.
So you can tell that story, but I would like to make it more difficult for you. On top of the skills, I know that it was a blog post or something you wrote to describe your path. So can you mention that too? Like all of it.
No, I think from actually I had this project as an example because for example, Daniel, he's software engineer and he can do like a lot of things like by himself. I mean, like hard skills like coding. PMs usually can do like anything in this case, so they can do design better than designers. They can do like code better than developers and engineers, like, and the same with analysts. So that's why for me, when we start working on this social media time tracker with my business partner, and he was software engineer, and he was like, but because we want to keep it like we are doing it only on our own money with no investment, like that's why we are not going to hire anyone. You need to learn how to design the app from scratch. So that's why I was like, okay. So I also started doing online courses, how to create like really simple interface on mobile, like download Sketch, and just I remember when I created my first icon, I was like, oh my God, this is something that I just created by my hands. Like it was like really amazing experience that PM usually don't have. And that's why, I learned how to do like some basic design. And I think also it's like similar what Daniel said is actually, I learned how to like run ad campaign on Facebook, on Google, how to have all of this App Store optimizations, how to measure on conversion. So I think it's like I had these skills before, but it was like more like the more high level, like from first like marketing like connection to actually final results. Yeah, and it also was kind of big journey how we can optimize on the like every step along the funnel. Yeah, so and in this, like you asked about blog post and about this journey. Yeah. So about project, yeah, we launched this project and we realized that actually, yeah, there are quite a lot of people who have the same problem with like social media addiction and how they can actually track automatically how much time they spend on Facebook or on Instagram or on YouTube. And we also had this feature to block Instagram or Facebook after like some time limit reached. It was before like Instagram introduced it or iOS platform introduced it. So, and I think like it was quite successful. We found our distribution channel. It was mostly like not Google Ads, not Facebook. It was App Store optimization and Apple Search as a channel. And we used VPN as a technology to calculate how much time actually you spend on social media. And at some point, I think after all of this Cambridge Analytica scandal at Facebook, and it was like a lot to think about like data privacy, Apple just started removing all VPN apps from App Store, and one of the apps was our app as well. Yeah, so that's why we kind of discussed a lot of things with them, like guys, what we can do, and they were like very kind of direct and strict. And I remember like a lot of VPN products struggled that time, and even a lot of people contacted us and like, let's just somehow like all together trying to reach Apple and explain that this is unfair or something else. Yeah, so at some point I think they, after like we released in 2016, and I think in 1.5 years or 2 years they removed app from App Store. And yeah, and we were like, okay, it anyway was quite a good journey and really interesting experience. Yeah, but you can't fight against Apple at some point. Yeah.
And was it was it an article you wrote for Go Practice?
Yeah, for my husband's project.
Pet project.
But no, now it's main project.
Okay, fine. So for those 3 people who ask more or less the same question, you can Google Go Practice and you will find the Product Management Analytics Simulator.
Yeah, it's simulator. Yeah, it's very practical. And,
They have a blog, and you can find an article about.
It's like was. How it's very clickable link. Yeah, I will share anyway.
So we will put the link on our Meetup. So you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that it depends, and you need to think about the gaps you have and tailor your pet project to those gaps. So what are the gaps you are closing with your not digitally based, but human-based pet project at Meetups?
I'm actually doing it like not for the sake of the CV, because like so far the key thing I hear is like, oh, we're looking for like person with like specific marketplace experience, or like we want a person with a fintech experience. So it's not about the sort of the skill set I show. I know that I did not have like exact experience doing the exact product management job, like working with software engineers and building a feature from like 0 to like the shipment. But I had this experience with like lots of physical products, and so like I understand this kind of ownership thing, and I work cross-functionally a lot. So it sort of looks like for now it like works. So I just need the to find a company which is more kind of open to PMs from a variety of backgrounds, and there is a number of such companies out there. So I'm not much worried about that. So the this project is rather about like building your tribe and like building this language and confidence, like speaking as a PM. And you can do it like, the only way you can do it is through practice, and this is just one of the many ways I'm practicing. So I'm going to meetups, to talks, to like conferences whenever I can get a free ticket. Yeah, so like reach out to like people through LinkedIn networks. Yeah, so this is my way to build a tribe, to learn the language, to start like speaking and thinking like a PM.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So the next question is about failures. We talked about success. So maybe an example of the thing.
I have plenty of those.
Yeah. You know, let me be more specific. Can you tell us about a time, and it sounds really like an Amazon interview.
Yeah, I can tell.
Can you tell us about a time when you gave up on a pet project? Like not failed, but maybe gave up because of reason.
Yeah, I think actually, even with Daniel, we had 2 of such projects, I think, together. In my practice, I have, I think, 2 more. So yeah, it's actually like in terms of success, I think it's, only the number of attempts matters, because actually at that point, it's not like this that, oh, I decided to do my own project and like, yeah, tomorrow it's going to be successful. No, I think it doesn't work like this. Yeah, it's more like, oh, it doesn't work again, it doesn't work again. So this is actually a lot of things that couldn't work out at some point. And yeah, one of the projects we were working on, it's like, you know, kind of the way how you can read books through like SMS stories, something like this. I think it's kind of plenty of apps like this.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were like, oh, actually, you know, books like market is growing. There are a lot of products like this. We can create contact. We can launch it like, I don't know, during weekend. And yeah, I think we built it with Daniel quite quickly. We launched it, and it was, I think we even got featuring from Apple at some point. Yeah, but after we just realized that, you know, when you need to acquire like users on your platform and you need to be like ROI positive at some point, and it didn't work out, and we realized that, yeah, like, I don't know, we spent $1 and got like $0.50. So, and we like, oh, okay, it's not gonna work. Let's just shut it down. Yeah.
Okay. Daniel, any examples from your side?
I mean, there are no specific examples, but as Luba said, you know, you start with the idea, then you iterate, and then eventually, you know, it's or you achieve the goal you wanted to achieve with the pet project, or you just give up because you did too many attempts and you learned that it's either the problem is not solvable or you don't have the right skill set to solve that problem. So I would say you should never be disappointed that you failed with the project. It's totally fine. So yeah.
Yeah, I think actually this is the only way if you want to go to this kind of your own project space. It's like, yeah, just to be ready that you can close it, you can kill it at some point, that it shouldn't be even considered as a failure. I think it's just like, yeah, okay, we can try something else, we can try it different. We learned that this way it didn't work out, but maybe kind of other way it's gonna work. Yeah.
Don't treat them as babies.
yeah.
So I have a specific question for you, Yulia. Not related to pet projects, but I assume because you interview and you've done the same research. So Tomasz is asking any pointers when it comes to information about how much money product managers get on the market.
I don't know, that varies a lot. I mean, I do have
a lot of money. A lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the kind of like the situation of the company. I'm really surprised that somehow you see like very successful companies with strong traction, funding and stuff, and like looking at Glassdoor and LinkedIn, they probably like pay 40, 50K, and some companies are paying like, I don't know, 60, 70 to PM. So that really like varies a lot. I think if you're sort of aiming to get in your first PM job, for example, I'm not very picky about the money a lot at this point, because like it's much more important to get this first PM line on my CV, because from that I can move like really very quickly in terms of money. So.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So if you have any questions, guys, now it's the time to put them on the chat window. Otherwise, I will ask our panelists, amazing panelists, just summarize the discussion. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, okay, so Tomasz says thank you.
Sure.
And Daniil, people are congratulating you, saying well done on escaping Facebook.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've discussed pet projects today, and at least my understanding is that you need to think about your goals and the gaps you want to close, and decide, is that a feasible idea for you, because it requires a lot of time sometimes. It's good to look at the things you like and you hate, and it helps, as Daniil said, to test yourself if you want to wake up and work in the morning on that idea, otherwise forget it. And we also discussed that you want to share and discuss your idea, not to put a lot of effort into something that is being done, and there is no failure, rather than kind of closing the project. So any other things you want maybe to communicate to aspiring PMs? Like about pet projects or about anything else, so like top tips you have to share.
I hear a lot that like talking to PMs, that the easiest way to get into the space is the internal transition. And like as far as from what I hear, that people often underestimate those opportunities. So, but this is really the easiest one, because you have the initial trust with the company, and they would be much more willing to bet on you rather than like going from outside. And like if I had this opportunity, I would definitely do it from internal, but I just can't do it because like I'm jobless. I'm a student for a year and a half, and I just don't like see the strength to leverage to start in any other role to move into PM. So this is why I'm going like straight in
head-on
PM. Yes, but getting there internally is much easier. That's the very consistent message like I hear from people.
Okay.
So if you can make it, or like try to be creative about it, there is definitely, well, 90% there is an opportunity in your company to somehow sort of navigate this way.
Okay, so jobless but well educated.
Luba, I think my advice would be like still around like side projects, pet projects. I think actually you definitely need to try it, because I think this is the like endless like knowledge that you can get from there, and this is very interesting experience. And I mean, like, because like when you're looking for a job and if you don't have relevant experience, it's always like this kind of chicken egg problem, like how I can get experience if I can get a job. And this is actually like pet project is a good way to start getting this experience. And I think even like if you really enjoy kind of being a PM or like love to be like, yeah, this is, I think it's a really good exercise. Like start with something very simple and create simple websites for your friends, creating events together, something like this. Yeah, and I think it's gonna be like really good experience like during this way. Yeah.
Amazing. Daniil?
Yeah, I think the best advice is what Yulia said a few minutes ago is try to just find your first job, no matter how much they pay you. Because I was in to some extent similar position in London. So when I first moved to London, it was extremely hard for me to find a job. I used to have a software engineering experience back home in Lithuania, but you know, when you come to a new country, for people, your experience back home doesn't really matter. So they were like, yeah, fine, you worked in that small company back home, but you never worked in the corporate environment in the UK. That's very different. And that's it. Nobody wanted to give me a job. Then I was just, you know, furiously looking for a job. I managed to find a position. They were underpaying me so much. That was, you know, I would get similar salary working in McDonald's, but I had to take that opportunity. Then I had that first line on my CV, and that worked well. Or alternatively, it's probably not the advice I'm giving, but you know, you can write a fake line on your CV that you had a PM experience, then it's more likely you'll get a job. If I was able to go back in time, that's what I would do.
At some point.
Yeah, I thought that you will suggest to go to work to McDonald's, but that's okay. Thank you very much to our amazing panelists today. Thank you, Daniil. Thank you, Luba. Thank you, Yulia. And I hope all the participants today appreciated having 4 Russians talking in English just for all of you guys. And if you have any ideas about the next meetup topics, please don't hesitate to send a private message to your PM2B host using chat window in Zoom, and I will spam you as usual with our usual survey, right? Lisa says, Anya, please start chatting up. And yeah, no, she says I can continue. Fine. So please send us any suggestions about the next meetup topics, any amazing people you want us to invite to become a panelist, whatever you want us to do, right? Yes, the meeting is closed. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, everyone. Bye. Bye. And I will, bye. Daniil, thanks. Bye. Okay, so let me just